Ardan, are you sure you want to erase all your identity records? Once erased, it'll be as if you never existed, and no one will be able to find you.
Ardan paused for a moment, before nodding resolutely.
Yes, that's exactly what I want. I want no one to find me. There was a hint of surprise on the other end of the line, but they quickly responded. Understood, Miss Nightingale. The process will take about 2 weeks to complete.
Please wait patiently. After hanging up the call, Ardan put her phone down and booked a flight to Florin, scheduled to depart in 2 weeks. At the same time, the television was replaying a press conference held by the Belrose Corporation a week ago.
Ellen Bellos, CEO of Belrose Corporation, unveiled a masterpiece of jewelry crafted from the world's most exquisite diamonds and gemstones.
He named it Ardan, in his wife's honor, a bold declaration of his unwavering love for her to the entire world. As soon as the piece was introduced, it went viral, dominating trending topics across all platforms. The buzz didn't fade, and the internet was ablaze with discussions about their fairy tale romance. What if that fairy tale was built on a lie? Stay tuned to Dark Voices as we dive deeper into this scandalous story. Following the press conference, the broadcast shifted to clips of reporters interviewing passers-by.
Excuse me, sir, do you know about Mr. Bellos and Mrs. Bellos' legendary love story?
A woman in a floral dress, her face full of envy, answered enthusiastically.
Who doesn't?
Just recently, Mr. Bellos even published a memoir entirely dedicated to Mrs. Bellos. In it, he mentioned how she loved cherries, so he planted an entire orchard of cherry trees around their villa. I told my husband to learn from him, and he said that kind of man is one in a million.
I could never compete. Honestly, it's enough to drive you mad with jealousy. The reporter moved on to interview more people.
A young university student stood in front of the microphone, clutching her hands to her chest with a dreamy expression. Their love story is like a romance novel brought to life.
Mr. Bellos is the ultimate lover.
4 years ago, Mrs. Bellos faced kidney failure and was in desperate need of a transplant. When it turned out Mr. Bellos was a compatible donor, he ignored everyone's objections and went straight to the operating table that very day to save her. He said she was his life, and if she couldn't live, he wouldn't either.
How could there be such a perfect man? The reporter interviewed countless people, and every single one of them expressed admiration for Ellen and Ardan's love story.
The news replayed over and over on the screen, but Ardan merely curled her lips in self-mockery. Her face had always attracted attention, and from a young age, she was surrounded by admirers. Yet, having grown up with divorced parents, Ardan held no illusions about love. She rejected every confession with the same line, "Sorry, I'm not interested in dating, and I care even less about romance." That was, until she met Ellen. Unlike everyone else, he pursued her relentlessly for 3 years. No matter how many times she turned him down, he only became more determined. Once, just to win her a necklace she liked, he joined a life-threatening street race, nearly losing his life in the process. That was the moment he finally broke through her walls. After they got together, his love never waned. Instead, he showered her with everything he could offer, gradually melting her guarded heart. Even when proposing, he didn't stop at just once. He asked 52 times before she finally took the leap of faith and agreed to marry him.
On the day of his final proposal, Ardan gazed at the ring on her finger, tears glistening in her eyes, and said to Ellen, "Ellen, I will do my best to be your wife through life and death, wealth and poverty, never abandoning you. But there's one thing you must remember, I will never tolerate lies. If you ever deceive me, I will disappear from your world forever." Those beautiful memories had now been shattered by a cruel reality, turning into nothing but illusions. 3 months ago, she discovered that Ellen had secretly been seeing another woman. He spent his days with Ardan, and his nights with her, his heart long since divided between 2 women. It was the painful truth of the saying, "Those who love passionately often burn out quickly." Ardan let out a bitter laugh, switched off the television, and printed out the divorce papers she had prepared long ago. Picking up the pen, she carefully signed her name, stroke by deliberate stroke. As fate would have it, her words from the past had come true. She would keep her promise and disappear from his world forever. After signing her name, Ardan placed the divorce papers into an elegant gift box and wrapped it carefully. An hour later, Ellen stepped through the door.
Before he could even take off his shoes, he rushed toward her, pulling her into his arms as he gently apologized. "I'm sorry, Ari, I went to pick up the jewelry today, which is why I was late and missed our wedding anniversary.
Please don't be upset, okay?" He produced the box containing the Ardan necklace, trying to soothe her. The collar of his black shirt was slightly open, with the top button left undone.
As he leaned down, the skin beneath his collar revealed faint marks of kiss imprints and scratches that stabbed sharply into Ardan's heart.
Had he really gone to pick up the jewelry, or had he spent the evening with Elo and King?
Most likely, he had just come straight from her bed. Ellen, oblivious to her turmoil, lovingly placed the necklace on her. The dazzling light from the jewels accentuated her delicate features, making her beauty even more radiant.
"You look stunning, Artie," he said sincerely, his eyes filled with admiration.
But there was no joy in Ardan's expression. Her eyes were red as she handed him the gift box containing the divorce papers.
"This is for you," Ellen looked at her, puzzled. "What's this?" Ardan's lips curled faintly. "A gift.
You prepared something for me for our anniversary, so it's only fitting that I give you something in return."
Ellen's eyes lit up with delight. He treated the box like a treasure and eagerly moved to open it, but Ardan stopped him. "Open it in 2 weeks." "Why?" he asked, a little confused.
Ardan spoke each word slowly and deliberately.
"Because this gift will have more meaning if you open it in 2 weeks.
Ellen paused for a moment, then nodded without pressing further. Instead, he gently took her hand and placed a soft kiss on it.
"Whatever my darling says goes.
Your husband will wait for this surprise." With that, he immediately grabbed a sticky note, wrote a line on it with care, and solemnly attached it to the gift box, "Open in 2 weeks." Ardan watched him quietly, her thoughts heavy. "Ellen, I just hope that when the time comes, you'll truly see it as a surprise." When morning came, Ellen greeted Ardan with his usual kiss.
"Ari, I missed our wedding anniversary yesterday. Let me make it up to you today, okay? Let's go to the amusement park. Didn't you say you wanted to go there before?"
Ardan had no interest and was about to refuse, but Ellen was already getting everything ready without waiting for her reply.
He even laid out an outfit for her.
At the amusement park, he was attentive to her every move. The moment she pressed her lips together, he brought a bottle of water to her mouth. If her gaze lingered on a stuffed toy for more than a second, he bought it immediately.
Carousel rides, bumper cars, the Ferris wheel. Ellen didn't care how childish the activities were. As long as she enjoyed them, he happily went along.
He held her hand tightly throughout, barely letting go. Even when she tried to pull away, he only gripped her hand more firmly, as if afraid to lose her. At one point, he even tied a balloon to her bag and chuckled. "This way, Artie, you'll never get lost."
Never get lost.
But the place she was going this time was somewhere he'd never be able to find her.
"Ellen, you lost me a long time ago,"
Ardan wanted to tell him.
Their undeniable chemistry and captivating looks naturally caught the eyes of other visitors.
It wasn't long before murmurs began, and someone pointed them out.
"Look, that's Mr. Bellos and Mrs. Bellos, isn't it? I can't believe we're seeing them in person. They're so sweet together."
A girl let out an excited gasp, practically bouncing on her toes as she grabbed her boyfriend's arm and dragged him over to Ardan.
Could we take a picture with you?
We're huge fans. You're our favorite couple." Seeing the girl's eager expression, Ardan didn't have the heart to refuse and nodded in agreement. Ellen wasn't fond of taking photos but was willing to cooperate with Ardan. The camera clicked, and the couple beamed with excitement.
"You two are such a perfect couple. We're so envious. Please stay happy forever." Ellen smiled and gave them a polite nod.
He never noticed that Ardan stood silently by his side the entire time, saying nothing. Only she knew the truth, there was no forever waiting for them. During their lunch break, Ellen kept glancing at his phone. Each time he caught Ardan's gaze, he quickly apologized with a soft, coaxing tone.
"Ari, I'm sorry, there's some work I need to handle right away. Be good and eat first. I promise I'll make it up to you in a moment, okay?"
But then, an image of a luxury castle flashed across his phone screen.
He wasn't working. He was watching a live stream.
Ardan's lips curved into a mocking smile as she quietly opened the live stream on her own phone.
It was Eloan, an obscure internet influencer Ellen had recently signed to the company.
Not only had he signed her, but he'd also made her the face of Ardan, the jewelry line he claimed was a tribute to his wife.
Everyone had been speculating about Eloan's sudden access to such high-profile opportunities. Some whispered that she must have someone powerful backing her. They were right. That someone was Ellen.
At that very moment, Eloan was standing at the entrance of the amusement park, live streaming to her audience.
She held up her phone with a smug expression, bragging to her viewers.
"Look, everyone, this amusement park was a gift from my boyfriend.
Just mention my name for a discount when you visit. Come and have fun."
Ardan's hand, clutching her phone, turned ice cold. Her grip tightened as a wave of frost seemed to seep through her veins. This amusement park, the one he brought me to, was a gift for her, she thought. The live stream's comments section was filled with skepticism.
"Stop lying. How could a small-time influencer like you afford a billionaire's playground?
She's just trying to grab attention. Without proof, anyone could stand in front of this park and claim it's theirs."
You're insane if you think we'll believe this. Do you have any idea how many billions it would cost to own a place like that?
Eloan bit her lip, looking aggrieved.
I'm not lying. Look, isn't my name on this?
She pulled a property deed from her bag, holding it up to the camera. Clear as day, her name was printed on the document in black and white. The live stream exploded instantly, flooding with comments as viewers reacted with awe and disbelief.
I take it back. I've never seen such a powerful figure in my life. An entire amusement park as a gift? This is next-level spoiling.
It's on par with Mr. Bellos and his undying love for Mrs. Bellos.
They say a man's love is where his money goes. Why can't I meet a perfect man like this?
That's because there are only two perfect men in the world, Mr. Bellos and this mysterious boyfriend of Eloan's.
So, who do you think loves their partners more? Bellos' devotion to Mrs. Bellos, or Eloan's boyfriend's love for her? Press 1 for Mr. Bellos, 3 for Eloan's boyfriend.
The comments section was filled with a cascade of ones. After all, Ellen's love for Ardan was legendary.
He didn't just spend money, he almost gave his life for her. Just then, a new account named Loves Eloan appeared and instantly sent 10,000 luxury virtual gifts to her livestream. The screen lit up with vibrant animations, leaving viewers stunned.
With the flood of gifts, the number of viewers in Eloan's livestream skyrocketed from hundreds of thousands to over 10 million. Then, a bold message flashed across the screen: "Of course, I love Eloan more." The livestream erupted in chaos.
The boyfriend just showed up. He's too rich, too rich. This is insane, absolute madness.
Eloan smiled with smug satisfaction, her eyes full of spoiled pride.
See?
I told you, my boyfriend loves me.
Ardan's hand trembled as she clutched her phone.
Her gaze lifted just in time to catch Ellen's faint smile, the indulgent look in his eyes unmistakable.
He was Loves Eloan.
It felt as though her heart had been wrenched apart, the pain lingering long after the hand that caused it had let go. Ardan clutched her chest tightly with her right hand, the pain so intense it left her gasping for air.
Ellen finally noticed something was wrong and rushed over in alarm. "Ari, what's wrong?"
The worry in his eyes seemed genuine, as if her collapse would take him down with her. And yet, the same man, who claimed to love her so deeply, had kept so many secrets from her. Forcing herself to stay calm, she steadied her voice.
"It's nothing, just a cramp."
Ellen immediately placed his hand over her chest, trying to ease her discomfort. After triple-checking that she was okay, he quickly took her home to rest. On the way back, he worked hard to lighten the mood, sharing amusing stories in an attempt to make her smile. But no matter how much effort he put in, Ardan couldn't bring herself to feel any joy. Leaning against the car window, she silently watched the scenery blur past, her expression unreadable.
"Ari, did I do something wrong?" he asked cautiously, testing the waters.
"No," she finally replied.
I was just thinking about a show I watched today. Ellen exhaled in relief and smiled, eager to follow her lead. What show?
Ardan slowly turned her face toward him, her gaze locking with his. It's about a man who used to love a woman deeply, but later he fell out of love. He kept it from her for a long time. She studied his face closely, watching for even the slightest flicker of emotion, and then spoke softly. Ellen, if you ever fell out of love, I never would. Before she could finish, Ellen cut her off, his voice almost desperate. Ari, you're the love of my life. Even if every man in the world betrayed their wives, I never would. I can't live without you. But his words only made her heart ache more. He couldn't live without her, yet he still sought comfort in another woman's arms. Just as she opened her mouth to speak, Ellen's phone suddenly rang. He hesitated for a moment, his finger hovering over the decline button, but before he could end the call, Ardan gently pushed his hand aside. Go ahead and answer it. Ellen obeyed, picking up the phone. Whatever was said on the other end made his expression shift. His initially calm demeanor gave way to a flicker of unease, his eyes widening as tension crept across his face. After swallowing hard, he ended the call and turned to Ardan. Ari, there's an urgent matter at the office. I need to head over right now. Let me call you a car to take you home, okay? Without saying much, Ardan nodded and stepped out of the car. As Ellen's Maybach drove off, she flagged down a taxi. Instead of heading back to the villa, she gave the driver a simple instruction: follow that car, please. The driver didn't ask questions, starting the engine and trailing the vehicle at a steady pace. The Maybach eventually stopped in front of a private villa. From a distance, Ardan watched as a young woman in a bunny-made costume opened the door. When she spotted Ellen stepping out of the car, her face lit up with a smile, and she ran straight into his arms. It was Elowen. The moment they embraced, their lips found each other's, and the kiss quickly deepened, full of hunger and passion. When they finally broke apart, Elowen caught her breath and tugged playfully at Ellen's tie, her eyes sparkling with mischief. Master, your little bunny has a surprise waiting for you. Want to see what it is? She punctuated her words by lightly tapping his throat with her fingertip. Ellen's Adam's apple bobbed as he gripped her hand firmly, his gaze darkening with desire. A 30-minute drive, and I got here in 15, what do you think? Elowen giggled, curling her fingers around his with a teasing glance. She tugged him toward the car. Let's see it in the car, then. After the two got into the car, it wasn't long before the vehicle began to rock slightly. The movements grew more intense, harder, and faster with each passing moment. No one knew that Ardan was sitting in a nearby car, watching everything unfold. She had told herself there was nothing left to hope for with Ellen, no expectations to be broken. But seeing it with her own eyes, she realized just how deeply it cut. It felt as though a sharp hook had suddenly latched onto her heart, twisting with brutal force. She clutched her chest, gasping for air as tears streamed down her face in heavy drops. She couldn't help but think back to when they were first in love. Ellen had always treated her with care. Even when the passion between them grew overwhelming, he would hold back, unwilling to touch her. He told her that the first time was sacred, that it should be saved for their wedding night to make it perfect. For 3 years he pursued her, for another 3 years they dated. Finally, they made it to their wedding night. That night, the powerful, composed Ellen, a man who dominated the business world, was so nervous he barely seemed like himself. As he slipped off her clothes, his ears turned bright red. He cherished her so much that every move he made was careful and deliberate. When he finally claimed her, he was so overwhelmed with emotion that he cried, whispering over and over in her ear, "Artie, you're finally mine. I love you. I will always love you." At that moment, she felt truly treasured and thought that for the rest of her life, no one would ever love her as deeply as Ellen did. He himself had once vowed that his love belonged only to Ardan. And now, he had shattered that promise with his own hand. The woman driver glanced at Ardan through the rearview mirror, seeing the tears streaming down her face. She let out a long sigh and silently handed her a tissue. "Men are all the same," she muttered bitterly, her voice thick with emotion. "None of them can stay faithful. Even I'm stuck in a marriage because of my child, and I can't leave, no matter how much I want to." The woman paused, swallowing her tears, then continued with a trembling voice.
Miss, don't be so upset. You're already married. Just endure it. Forgive him this once, and pretend you didn't see anything.
Ardan gripped the tissue in her hand, her voice hoarse yet unyielding. No, I won't forgive him. Ellen Bellos, I will never forgive you, she said quietly to herself. When she returned home, Ardan tore through drawers and closets, collecting every gift Ellen had ever given her, extravagant trinkets and priceless treasures alike, including the legendary Ardan necklace. They were all gathered into a single pile. She picked up her phone and dialed a number.
Hello, is this the property management office? I want to sell all these items.
Donate every penny to a women's foundation to support women who want to leave their marriages but can't, whether because of children or financial struggles.
In just an hour, everything was packed and sent off.
Afterward, Ardan turned her attention to packing her own belongings. She was halfway through when Ellen suddenly burst through the door. Rain clung to him like a second skin.
He hadn't even taken the time to grab an umbrella.
Drenched and chilled, he strode into the room, his eyes wild with desperation. He didn't bother changing out of his soaked clothes as he rushed to her side, his voice trembling.
Ari, why did you sell Ardan?
The Ardan necklace was incredibly valuable, and the only way to sell it was through an auction house.
So, Ellen had seen it listed at the auction. She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she countered, You went to the auction house?
Ellen hesitated, his expression briefly faltering.
After a few seconds, he replied, I wanted to buy you some jewelry. Was it really for me, or was it for Eloan? She thought.
Eloan had gone out of her way to prepare such a grand surprise for him. Naturally, he'd feel obligated to return the gesture. Ardan had already steadied her emotions, her voice calm as she said, I didn't sell it.
I donated it.
Hearing this, Ellen let out a frustrated sigh and took her hand.
Ari, I know you're kind, but if you want to donate something, use anything else. This necklace, of all things, can't be given away.
With that, he pulled out a small box and set it in front of her.
The black velvet box opened to reveal the Ardan necklace, its brilliance as striking as ever.
I bought it back, Ellen said, his tone gentle but firm.
This necklace is a symbol of my love for you. It should never be removed, no matter what.
He leaned forward and once again clasped the necklace around her neck. Ardan stared at the familiar piece of jewelry, now returned to its original place, and let out a bitter laugh. Ellen, your acting is flawless, she thought. You just came rushing back after being with another woman, and yet here you are, speaking sweet words of love to me as if nothing happened. Later that night, as she was about to fall asleep, Ellen's phone suddenly rang. He quickly silenced it and patted her back soothingly, as if to reassure her. But only a few seconds later, the phone rang again. After several rings, Ellen frowned, not wanting to disturb Ardan, and reluctantly answered the call. The voice on the other end was particularly clear in the quiet room.
Hey, Ellen, come out and join us. Everyone's here. We're just waiting for you. Without hesitation, Ellen declined. I'm putting Ari to bed. I can't. Bye. Hey, don't hang up. Don't be such a wife's slave. It's been forever since you've joined us for a night out.
Yeah, man, most guys forget their friends when they get married, but you've completely erased us.
That's taking it too far.
The noise on the other end was chaotic, and Ellen pressed his hand over the receiver.
Enough. Quiet. Quiet down. I've told you before, no one in the world is more important to me than my wife.
I'm staying with her. Despite his firm stance, the voices didn't relent. They passed the phone around, each one taking a turn to try and convince him to come out, determined to wear him down. As the back and forth dragged on, Ardan, who had been woken by the noise, finally spoke.
Go out with them. It's been a long time since you've seen your friends.
Ellen's face showed reluctance, but Ardan repeated herself. In the end, he gave in slightly.
Fine, but I'm bringing you with me. If you don't come, I'm not going. The voices on the phone immediately jumped in, pleading with Ardan. Come on, Ardan, join us. It'll be fun, and Ellen will finally get out of the house. Yeah, Ardan, please come. He won't budge unless you're with him. Eventually, Ardan agreed, and only then did Ellen agree to head out. When they arrived at the private lounge and opened the door, they were greeted by the sight of Ellen's friends, surrounded by women, all draped over their shoulders and laughing loudly. Ellen's expression darkened, and without a second thought, he turned to leave. The group immediately realized their mistake and hurriedly pushed the women away. Okay, leave. Go now. Once the lounge was cleared of all the women, the friends let out a collective sigh and slung their arms around Ellen's shoulder. Ellen, you're still the same after all these years. No other woman can even get close to you except for Ardan, one of his friends teased. Ellen brushed him off with a look of disdain, even going so far as to pat imaginary dust from his shoulder. I'm a married man. I have to make sure Artie feels secure. Not that a single guy like you would understand. The room erupted into laughter, with everyone throwing playful glances at Ardan. Although this was supposed to be a night out with his friends, Ellen's attention never wavered from Ardan. When someone lit a cigarette, his sharp glare immediately shut them down. Put it out. Artie doesn't like the smell of smoke. When another tried to offer him a drink, Ellen shook his head firmly, unapologetic. Ari doesn't like it when I smell like alcohol. Even when the karaoke machine started, Ellen frowned. Turn it off. Ari prefers it quiet. Ignoring the playful protests of his friends, Ellen remained focused on Ardan, carefully peeling and slicing fruit with a level of skill that could only come from practice. The pieces were perfectly cut, arranged in a neat bowl, and handed to her with a look of pride. Here, Ari, have some fruit. Noticing her thin dress and the cool air in the room, Ellen immediately shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. Is that better? Are you still cold? He asked with concern. His friends couldn't hold back their laughter, teasing him relentlessly. Ellen, you truly earned your place as a married man. Ardan remained silent throughout, unwilling to continue playing along. It's getting late. I'm heading home. Ellen immediately stood to follow her, but his friends quickly stepped in to stop him. Come on, Ellen, Ardan needs rest, but it's been forever since we've all hung out. You can't leave yet. Exactly. Let her lie back for some beauty sleep while you stay and catch up with us. Ardan gently pulled her hand from Ellen's grasp, her tone steady. The driver can take me home. You should stay. Before he could respond, she turned and walked away, her pace quick enough that Ellen didn't have time to stop her. Not long after the car pulled out, Ardan felt something unfamiliar in her coat pocket. She reached in and found a phone that wasn't hers. It was a sleek black one that belonged to Ellen. She frowned and asked the driver to turn back. The car had barely stopped outside the bar when Ardan spotted Elowen stepping out of a taxi. Elowen was busy checking her makeup and her phone's reflection, oblivious to her surroundings as she made her way toward the lounge. Ardan's grip tightened around the phone, her knuckles whitening as she instinctively followed Elowen. As she suspected, Elowen stopped right outside the lounge where Ellen was. The moment Elowen walked in, she threw herself into Ellen's arms. He caught her with ease, his hand slipping around her waist as he brushed a lock of her hair aside with affectionate care. Why'd you get here so fast? Elowen leaned against his shoulder, her smile coy. I missed you. The second you called, I came running. Ellen chuckled softly. Then you deserve a reward. With that, he leaned in and kissed her, a deep and fiery kiss that quickly turned into a heated tangle of lips and tongues. Standing just outside the door, Ardan stared through the crack, her body going cold as ice. Ellen's friends didn't seem the least bit surprised. Instead, they laughed and teased him, as if it were all perfectly normal. They all knew about him and Elowen, and yet they had been acting in front of her this whole time. So, everyone knew. Hey, Ellen, now that Elowen's here, how about we play something a little more daring? One of his friends joked, grinning suggestively. With that, they clapped their hands, calling back the women who had been sent away earlier. Soon, every man had a woman draped over him, the room buzzing with laughter. The game was simple: spin the bottle. Whoever the bottle pointed to had to answer a truth or complete a dare.
The bottle spun again and again, each turn raising the excitement in the room, until it finally stopped on Ellen. The atmosphere reached its peak as everyone cheered loudly, urging him on.
So, Ellen, one of the men asked with a knowing smirk, when was the last time?
His tone left no doubt as to what he meant.
Ellen arched a brow, his expression calm and composed, before replying flatly, yesterday, in the car. The room erupted in uproarious laughter and cheers. Wow, that's impressive. Come on, tell us, how was it?
Elowen, already blushing furiously, buried her face into Ellen's chest, too embarrassed to look up. Ellen, his lips curving into a smug smile, drawled each word deliberately.
She did well. Very unforgettable. I've always said that wildflowers are sweeter than those at home. Exactly, Ellen. Guys like us, how could we not have a few women on the side? As long as you keep it hidden, you can enjoy it for a lifetime. Ardan will never find out.
Every word of their conversation reached Ardan's ears. The laughter and teasing inside carried on, oblivious to the fact that Ardan's world had turned to ice. Her body felt numb, her legs shaky beneath her, as if she were no more than an empty shell. Without thinking, she stumbled out of the building, moving as though on autopilot. The driver, noticing something was wrong, rushed toward her, intending to inform Ellen, but Ardan stopped him immediately.
Don't take me home.
I'll walk by myself, she said, her voice hollow.
And don't tell Ellen I was here.
The driver hesitated but obeyed, watching as she turned and disappeared down the empty street. Rain began to pour in torrents, drenching her in moments, but she didn't seem to notice. The icy drops falling against her skin only sharpened her clarity. She had no idea how long she walked. It felt endless, like a lifetime, even longer than that snowy night when she was 17, the time Ellen carried her home after she sprained her ankle. So, this is how quickly love can change, she thought to herself. When Ardan returned home, a high fever overtook her, refusing to break. Ellen stumbled in later that night, reeking of alcohol, only to find Ardan unconscious, her cheeks flushed an alarming red. Panic washed over him as he rushed to pick her up and drove her straight to the hospital. When Ardan finally regained consciousness, her heavy eyelids fluttered open with great effort. Seeing her awake, the nurse who had been changing her lit up with delight.
Mrs. Bellos, you're finally awake. You've been running a fever for over a day.
Mr. Bellos was so worried he stayed by your bedside the entire time.
He only just stepped out to take a call. Should I go tell him you're awake? He'll be so happy to hear it.
Ardan shook her head weakly, her voice rough and hoarse.
No need. The nurse didn't press further.
After carefully adjusting her she left the room respectfully. The spacious hospital room fell into silence, so quiet that Ardan could hear Ellen's voice faintly drifting in from the hallway. He was always so composed, only losing his cool in front of her, but now his voice carried an unfamiliar lightness, there was excitement, and even joy. Moments later, the sound of his footsteps faded into the distance.
He had left.
Summoning all her strength, Ardan climbed out of bed, her movements slow and unsteady. She followed the direction of his voice, step by step, down several floors. Just as she reached the corridor, she froze.
Ellen was walking out of the obstetric department, his arm supporting Elowen.
Both of them were smiling, their joy unmistakable, their lips curving into grins they couldn't suppress. The moment Elowen spotted Ardan, her eyes widened with mock surprise, and she exclaimed, "Mrs. Bellos, what a coincidence!
Are you here at the hospital too?"
At her words, Ellen's head snapped up. His gaze locked with Ardan's across the corridor, and his entire body stiffened. Caught off guard, he quickly released Elowen's arm, his expression tightening with unease.
Ari, I went downstairs to get your medication and accidentally ran into Elowen.
She's pregnant, and I was worried something might happen, so I just helped her for a moment, Ellen explained hastily, his tone flustered, as if terrified she might misunderstand. Ardan's gaze drifted to Elowen's stomach, her breath catching painfully in her chest. She closed her eyes for a moment, steadying herself, before speaking evenly.
Miss King, when did you find out you were pregnant, and why isn't the child's father here?
Lowering her head like a wounded animal, Elowen bit her lip and murmured, "You're right.
I was out of line. How could I ever think I'd be worthy of sitting at the same table as Mrs. Bellos? With that, she wiped at her eyes, turning away in a huff and storming off, her figure trembling with barely contained frustration. Ellen's expression shifted, and for a moment, he looked as though he might rush after Eloan. But when his gaze landed on Ardan, who stood calmly watching him, he hesitated and ultimately stayed put. After collecting a pile of prescriptions, Ardan was discharged and returned home. Perhaps still rattled from his outburst at Eloan earlier, Ellen seemed distracted the entire ride back. Once they arrived, he made a vague excuse about work and locked himself away in the study. As soon as Ardan stepped into her bedroom, her phone buzzed with a message from Eloan. It was a photo of a prenatal examination report. What followed was a series of taunting messages. Ardan, I know you figured it out today. The baby is Ellen's. Don't fool yourself into thinking he loves you that much. If he really did, what does my existence mean? Do you even know how obsessed he is with me? Every year, on your birthday and your wedding anniversary, he puts you to bed and comes to me. He's insatiable, we go through boxes of condoms every time, and the next day, I can't even get out of bed. We've left traces of our love everywhere, his Maybach, his office, even your marital bed. 72 positions, he's tried them all with me. They say love and intimacy go hand in hand. Has he ever been that passionate with you? Reading the messages, Ardan took a deep breath, forcing herself to suppress the storm of emotions raging inside her. She turned off her phone just as Ellen wrapped his arms around her from behind. What are you looking at, sweetheart? He murmured, resting his chin on the curve of her neck. All he saw was the blank, dark screen of her phone. It's nothing, Ardan said quietly, her reddened eyes fixed on the view outside the window. The next moment, the night sky burst into a riot of fireworks, dazzling and vibrant. Ardan immediately remembered Eloan's words from earlier, how Eloan had planned a citywide fireworks display to celebrate her pregnancy. Noticing Ardan's gaze lingering on the fireworks, Ellen's eyes softened with affection. Do you like this? I'll arrange an even grander display just for you, better than this one, I promise, he said, holding her tightly and coaxing her with his gentle tone. Ardan smiled faintly, but her smile was tinged with bitterness and tears. Ellen, she said softly, her voice carrying a sharp edge, I don't like things that others have already used, whether it's fireworks or people. Ellen froze for a moment, her words piercing through him. Though she was clearly talking about the fireworks, his chest tightened with an inexplicable sense of panic. After a brief silence, he pulled her closer. Then I'll prepare something else, something that's only for you. I'll make sure you never feel jealous of anyone else. Ardan said nothing, her gaze distant as she stared out at the horizon. She didn't reply. For the next several days, Ellen left early and returned late, his behavior shrouded in secrecy. Even the household staff noticed something was unusual and couldn't help but tease. Mrs. Bellos, it seems Mr. Bellos is secretly planning a surprise for you. Yes, he's so devoted, first he had a piece of custom jewelry made for you, and now he's working on something else. One surprise after another, he never runs out of ways to spoil you. But Ardan remained expressionless, listening to their chatter without a hint of reaction. That evening, Ellen took her hand, his excitement barely concealed as he led her to the door. Ari, I'm taking you somewhere you'll love it, he said with a smile. Ardan was about to refuse when her phone buzzed. It was a message from Eloan. Ardan, why don't you guess who's more important to him now, you or me? The next moment, Ellen's phone vibrated as well. Ardan glanced over and caught a glimpse of the screen. It was a photo from Eloan, a close-up of her legs in black stockings, accompanied by a playful message, "Don't keep me waiting." Ellen's eyes darkened as he stared at the image, his Adam's apple bobbing slightly. A few seconds later, he tucked his phone into his pocket and turned to Ardan.